We've all heard about Pradeep Dada Rawat, sir. He's an ex-MP Pune, has been a Swayam Sevak since childhood and held various organizations, posts in RSS and in BJP. Has been focused on the goal of spreading science literacy for the last 10 years. And he heads an organization called Rawat Nature Academy for the same purpose. Sir, it is really our privilege to have you here. I would request Pradeep Dada Rawat to please share his thoughts with us.
Dignitaries on dais, brothers and sisters. Today, it's a gathering, a kind of a manthan. Before we come to Narendra Modi ji and appreciate his vision, we have to have a brief overview of our nation. What's happened in the past? We all know that in 1947, India made its tryst with destiny. But unfortunately, it remains, after 57 years, unfulfilled. So, the first question is, why? Why did it happen? If you look at the 20th century, the first 50 years of British India, our growth rate was hovering around 1%. And after independence, for the first 40 years, we were struggling to achieve a goal of 4%. We became a laughing stock. Many called it a Hindu rate of growth. Why did it happen? We thought that socialist economy is the perfect policy. We believed, along with some of the newly independent nations, that Soviet Russia would lead us towards prosperity. We all believe that all the production factors like energy, water, fertile land, human labor, all these factors, they can be combined into a central plan, and we will be able to create an equitable society. Many times it so happens that idealism is divorced from reality. And therefore, we went on experimenting the same old socialist ideas. We created a huge public sector. We created a license permit Raj. And the result was what is called as crony socialism. There emerged a collaboration of politicians, bureaucrats, industrialists, traders, which all felt that within this kind of crony relationships, they can create profit. Yes, indeed they created, but only for themselves. India did not progress. We did not come out of the poverty trap. We created a huge gap between potential and performance, between possibilities and achievements. Before the World War I, Turkey was described as the sick man of Europe. And same kind of derisive words were used for India and China as sick men of Asia. Because of communism and socialism, we shackled our own energies. Something was wrong, not wrong with people as such, but the systems, the policies which we were following. And unfortunately, we went on reinforcing failure. We learned nothing from the post-war rise of Japan or the Asian tigers such as Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea, Malaysia. China realized that something is wrong much earlier than India. In the 80s, they started learning lessons from tiny Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew became a guide and philosopher of Deng. Still we did not learn anything. It was a financial shock when India was virtually on a bankruptcy that we were forced to change. But I appreciate what Narsiha Rao did. After all, to exploit a crisis for the better of the country is a great job. And therefore, many great economists, they have said that the greatest prime ministers India had are Narsiha Rao and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. It is true that Rao changed under compulsion because of crisis, but he did liberalize and globalize. He opened up Indian economy. He virtually ended the license permit Raj. And under Vajpayee, the legacy was further broadened. It was out of conviction that Vajpayee ji unleashed reforms and our growth rate started jumping. This is the real legacy. Unfortunately, it so happened that Vajpayee's government lost the mandate and UPA came into power. But again, almost all economists are unanimous that UPA 1 saw great growth rate. It was only because of the policies which were unleashed by Atal Bihari Vajpayee's NDA government. It is a fact. UPA's failure is they squandered away this great legacy and they were mired into a policy paralysis. Why? Because the Congress party had a very different kind of legacy. The exception of Rao, keep aside, the legacy was of crony socialism, that cozy kind of collaboration between the various kind of vested interests. And they got converted into crony capitalism. So this is the situation. And therefore, what we can say is, what is happening in the last 5 years or the 10 years, that we have squandered away a decade. And again, India is facing a crisis. So, here starts the story of Sri Narendra Modi ji. This crisis, he realized, is a great opportunity. For the same last 10 years, when the central government was an utter failure, he had his Gujarat to do all the experiments, to carry the legacy of Vajpayee ji. of interlinking rivers, of providing power to every household 24 hours, to laying a pipeline, longest in the world, and making water available to almost all parts of Gujarat. He created so many reforms. I am not going to go into all those, there is no time. And you all know about that. This Gujarat model, about which so many people talk. Two of the economists, Ravindra Dholkia and Samar Datta, they tell us that not to term the Gujarat success story as a miracle or magical or incredible. These are all doable benchmarks. He showed that with great patience, passion, conviction, he vitalized the whole government machinery, the Bharatiya Janata Party, everything, and he set benchmarks and goals which the government could achieve and successfully won the elections. What Narendra Modi ji did, the politics of development, it was not politics of poverty. Politics of poverty leads to nothing. It assumes that the poor should remain poor, so we can provide doles. But here was a different kind of politics which was inspired by Atalji. We ourselves in Maharashtra had a great legacy during our Yuti government. We know about the story of Bombay-Pune road, the flyovers, all the dams we built. So we really, it started in Maharashtra, the new politics of development and growth. We have a success story in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh. So everywhere this new idea came up. And here, the pivotal person who inspires this new politics is Mr. Narendra Modi. And we are here together to understand the nature of his politics. What does he want? In American Constitution, there is a fundamental principle. It is enshrined that pursuit of happiness is a fundamental right. I think that not only in American Constitution, everybody, every nation in this whole world is entitled to pursuit of happiness, quality of life. Why can't we achieve that? Nature has endowed us with all the natural material we need. Fertile land, minerals, water. What do we need? Why it is that consistently we have failed? Why it is that always we have not been able to realize actual performance, convert our potential into performance? Why? Is there something, some fault in Indian people? Narendra ji realized there is no fault in the Indian people, because he saw the Gujarati success story in United States, in Africa, in England, all over, and all the Indians also. If the Indians who were born here, who were schooled here, who got all the education in India, if they are a great success story all over the world, why India fails when Indians succeed? Here comes the whole thing. Narendra Modi ji realized that we have to change. And therefore, as I said, he is a great pragmatist. Louis Pasteur, the great scientist, I think he describes the basic quality of Narendra Modi. Chance favors only the prepared mind. It is so true. You can't have a eureka moment if your mind is not prepared to connect the dots. And here is a man who understood that Indians can be a success story if everywhere they can create a successful India. And therefore, he had no blinkers of idealism. A pragmatic person never has such kind of blinkers. I think he echoes the ideas of Deng when Deng said, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. It doesn't matter. So this is how Narendra Modi ji works. Another thing, very important thing is Modi ji has. He doesn't indulge in past. He doesn't believe that the golden age was in past. There's a great economist known as Alexander Grashenkron. He was in Harvard. He said, the golden age doesn't lie in the past, but it is in the future. And unless we realize that, we cannot inspire our new generation. So the greatest important message which Modi ji carries for us is this. For the young India, I don't belong to that. I'm nearing my 60s. But yeah, many young Indians, for them it is true that if our demography is to be a dividend and not a disaster, what have we to do? Look at the success story of post-war Japan, of Asian tigers. Look everywhere in the whole world. What has made them successful? It's not the kind of mineral wealth they have, the material wealth they have. Japan has none. It borrows everything from the whole world. What is it? It is a human resource. Therefore you see Modi ji always talking about the youth and how to really convert them into world-class working force in each and every field. He always tells us, why don't we have Nobel Prize winners? Why don't we have Olympic medals? What is wrong with that? Everything wrong in India is about the wastage of our human resource. It is not the coal, petroleum, or anything else, or water, or fertile land. It is a human resource which creates a great success story. And finally I will say that where does Narendra Modi belong? He belongs to a different league of world leaders. If you look at the history of 20th century, we know so much about Hitler, but do we know about Ludwig Erhard, who created the post-war Germany? Hitler tried with the force of arms to create a unified Europe, but Erhard did it through peaceful means. Nobody remembers him, but he is the greatest leader of 20th century Germany. Lenin and Stalin, they are not the great leaders, but Gorbachev is the great leader. Mao is not the greatest leader of China, but Deng is. Nelson Mandela, yes, he was a great freedom fighter, but today his legacy is not because he's only a freedom fighter. His greater legacy is because he created a united nation of blacks and whites in an apathetic South Africa, a great nation. That therefore Narendra Modi, though many opponents say he's a divisive force, he's the only force in India who is a great unifier. And we all believe that under his leadership we can have the India with whom we had a tryst 57 years ago. Thank you.